A young CEO walks home after a night out with friends. Minutes later, security cameras capture her letting a stranger into her building. They disappear together onto a rooftop. Only one of them comes back down. 3 days later, her body is found beaten, strangled, and abandoned above the city she was trying to change. What police uncovered next exposed a horrifying failure that shocked Maryland and changed its laws forever.
You see, I had my life entirely mapped out. A blueprint for how I was going to make a change in the world.
Baltimore, Maryland, is a city with a long history. Its skyline rises above the waters of the Chesapeake Bay, and its streets are filled with people chasing careers, raising families, and building futures. In September 2023, one of those people was 26-year-old Pava LaPere, a woman whose life appeared destined for extraordinary success. To the people who knew her, Pava was the definition of ambition. She wasn't someone who waited for opportunities to appear. She created them. Every day seemed focused on a larger goal, a bigger purpose, and a desire to leave the world better than she found it. Originally raised in Texas before moving with her family to Arizona, Pava spent much of her youth believing she would become a doctor. Unlike many childhood dreams, hers wasn't casual. She pursued it seriously, dedicating herself to academics, leadership roles, and everything expected of a future medical professional. Eventually, her hard work earned her admission to the prestigious Johns Hopkins University. But once there, something changed. Pava realized that helping people didn't necessarily require a medical degree. She believed she could create even greater impact through innovation and entrepreneurship. Instead of continuing down the traditional path toward medicine, she shifted her focus toward building businesses and helping others do the same. At Johns Hopkins, she founded a nonprofit organization that encouraged students to launch startups and pursue their own ideas. She became known as someone who could inspire people around her, someone capable of turning ambitious concepts into reality. Her determination eventually led her to co-found EcoMap Technologies, a company focused on making complex information easier to access and understand. The business grew rapidly. Investors noticed. Industry leaders noticed. Soon, national media noticed. By the age of 25, Pava had earned a place on Forbes 30 Under 30, an achievement reserved for some of the most promising young entrepreneurs in America.
The young founder of a tech company is making Baltimore proud, getting named to the Forbes 30 Under 30 list just this week.
Her future seemed limitless, but what many people admired most wasn't her success. It was her character. Friends described her as energetic, optimistic, and deeply committed to causes she believed in. She spoke publicly about equality and social justice. She advocated for people who often felt unheard. Despite building a growing company and managing dozens of employees, she remained approachable and genuine. Her work became her life. Her co-workers became her family. And that made what happened next almost impossible for them to comprehend. The evening of September 22, 2023 began like any other Friday. Pava finished work at the office of EcoMap Technologies, conveniently located in the same building as her apartment. Later, she attended Baltimore's Artscape Festival with a colleague. Nothing seemed unusual. Nothing suggested danger. The evening was relaxed, normal, completely ordinary. At some point after the event ended, Pava headed home alone. Security footage would later reveal that she arrived at her building around 10:30 p.m. She entered the lobby and sat briefly on a couch near the entrance. Then something happened. Outside the glass doors stood a man. At first glance, he appeared unremarkable, but investigators would later discover that this man had been following her. The footage showed him lingering outside, looking through the glass, apparently hoping someone would allow him inside. Pava noticed him. The two exchanged a few words. Moments later, she opened the door. The stranger stepped inside. That decision would cost her everything. The cameras continued recording. Pava and the unidentified man walked deeper into the building together. Then they headed toward the rooftop. Neither appeared to be arguing. There was no obvious sign of distress, nothing that would immediately alarm anyone watching. Then the footage jumps forward approximately 30 minutes. The same man reappears, but this time he is alone. His clothing looks disheveled. He is shirtless, and he leaves the building quickly. No one knew it yet, but Pava LaPere was already dead. The following morning, co-workers noticed something strange. Pava wasn't answering messages. She wasn't attending meetings. She wasn't responding to calls. For most people, that might not seem unusual. For Pava, it was. She was dependable, driven, always present. As concern grew, colleagues went to her apartment. No answer. They contacted her business partner. A missing person report was filed. At that point, everyone still hoped there was a simple explanation. Maybe she had gone somewhere unexpectedly. Maybe her phone battery had died. Maybe there had been a misunderstanding. But then one coworker remembered something important. Whenever Pava felt overwhelmed, she often visited the rooftop. It was a quiet place where she could think, breathe, and escape the pressures of daily life. A colleague decided to check there. He climbed up expecting to find her sitting alone. Instead, he discovered a nightmare. Lying on the rooftop was Pava's body. There was blood everywhere. She wasn't moving. Parts of her clothing had been removed. The scene was so disturbing that the coworker immediately called emergency services and told dispatchers he believed his friend had been murdered.
There's a dead body on the rooftop of 306 West Franklin.
Tell me exactly what happened, Kevin.
We filed a missing person report for my friend and boss this morning, and we just checked the rooftop of the building. I'm looking at her.
Okay, is she awake?
No.
Is she breathing?
No.
Please tell me why does it look like she's dead?
I don't want to get too close. She's.
You gotta get closer, Kevin. Why does it look like she's dead? Come on, Kevin, you got this.
Her face is. She looks like she's been dead for a couple of days, and she's partly naked. I think she was killed.
I'm sending you help, Kevin.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Are you okay?
I'm okay.
All right.
Within minutes, police officers, homicide detectives, and crime scene investigators flooded the building. What they found confirmed everyone's worst fears. Pava had suffered extensive injuries. Investigators documented severe trauma to her head and neck. Nearby lay scattered evidence: her shoes, red pants, torn buttons, a hair clip, and several teeth that had been knocked out during the attack. A blood-stained brick was also recovered. Detectives believed it had been used as a weapon. The brutality stunned even experienced investigators. News of the murder spread rapidly across Baltimore. Shock turned into grief. Grief turned into outrage. Who would do this? Why would anyone target a woman so widely admired? Detectives began interviewing everyone close to her: co-workers, friends, business associates, family members. One of the most important interviews involved her co-founder and business partner, but investigators quickly found no evidence of workplace conflict or personal disputes that could explain such a savage attack. The answers weren't coming from Pava's inner circle. They were hidden inside the building's surveillance system. When detectives reviewed the footage frame by frame, the mystery began unraveling. The stranger who entered with Pava was clearly visible. As investigators studied his face, something remarkable happened. Several officers recognized him immediately. His name was Jason Billingsley, and he was already one of the most dangerous men in Maryland. Billingsley wasn't simply a criminal, he was a convicted sex offender. Years earlier, he had been sentenced in connection with a serious sexual offense and received a lengthy prison term. Yet through Maryland's system of sentence reduction credits, he was released years before many people believed he should have been. What made the discovery even more horrifying was another fact. Just 3 days before Pava's murder, Billingsley had allegedly committed another violent attack. According to investigators, he used his position as a maintenance worker to gain access to a residence. He forced his way inside. Once there, he restrained April Hurley and Jaunty Gilmore. What followed was unspeakably brutal. Authorities said he sexually assaulted Hurley, violently attacked both victims, poured accelerant throughout the residence, and set the apartment on fire in an attempt to kill them and destroy evidence. Miraculously, both survived. The public was horrified. How had someone accused of such violence remained free? Why hadn't he already been captured? And now, investigators believe the same man had murdered one of Baltimore's most promising young entrepreneurs. Police wasted no time. A citywide manhunt began. Officials warned the public that Billingsley represented an extreme danger. Law enforcement agencies across Maryland joined the search. Federal authorities assisted. Every available lead was pursued. For days, residents followed developments anxiously. Many feared he could strike again. Then came the breakthrough. 2 days after Pava's body was discovered, officers spotted Billingsley near a train station. Backup units rushed to the area. The suspect was surrounded. This time there would be no escape. He was taken into custody without resistance. Inside the interrogation room, detectives confronted him with the evidence. They showed him surveillance footage. They showed him images proving he entered the building with Pava and left alone. At first, his responses were evasive, but investigators continued pressing. Eventually, Billingsley admitted being with Pava on the rooftop. According to statements later discussed during court proceedings, he acknowledged that he was conscious and aware during the encounter. His explanation shifted repeatedly, but investigators concluded that what began as an interaction with a stranger escalated into a violent assault that ended Pava's life. Medical findings later determined that Pava died from strangulation and blunt force trauma. The attack was both personal and extraordinarily violent. The case immediately became national news. People across the country weren't just mourning Pava, they were asking difficult questions. Questions about public safety, questions about sentencing, questions about how a repeat violent offender had been released and allowed back into society. As criminal proceedings moved forward, Billingsley faced charges connected not only to Pava's murder, but also to the earlier assault, rape, attempted murder, and arson involving April Hurley and Jonty Gilmore. Eventually, he pleaded guilty. The admission spared victims and families from lengthy trials, but could never erase what had happened. In August 2024, Billingsley received multiple life sentences. Prosecutors emphasized that he should never have been free to commit these crimes. Under the sentence structure, he would have to serve decades before any possibility of parole. But even after sentencing, Pava's story was not over. Her parents refused to allow her death to become just another headline. Frank and Carolyn LaPere focused on changing the system they believed had failed their daughter. They advocated for legislation designed to restrict sentence reduction credits for individuals convicted of serious sexual offenses. Their message was simple. If dangerous repeat offenders remained behind bars, future victims might be spared. Lawmakers listened. Public support grew. The debate intensified throughout Maryland. Then came a historic moment. In 2024, legislation inspired by Pava's case was signed into law. Known as the Pava LaPere Act, it limited the ability of certain violent sex offenders to receive automatic sentence reductions that could lead to early release.
Before the horrific and tragic death of CEO Pava LaPere, her alleged killer, Mr. Jason Billingsley, had a record including first-degree assault, second-degree assault, and first-degree sex offense. But due to our system, he was released from prison after serving only 7 years and went on to allegedly rape a woman, set a man on fire, and allegedly kill Miss LaPere. That is why we are thankful for Delegate Embry's support in introducing this legislation on behalf of the state's attorney's office, which will be known as the Pava LaPere Act. It will eliminate the ability for anyone convicted of first-degree sex offense to receive diminution credits during their entire period of incarceration.
The law could not bring Pava back. Nothing could. It could not erase the pain felt by her family. It could not undo the terror experienced by April Hurley and Jonty Gilmore. And it could not change the events of that September night when a young entrepreneur extended trust to a stranger and paid the ultimate price. But it did create something lasting, a legacy. Today, when people speak about Pava LaPere, they often remember her accomplishments in business, her advocacy for others, and the company she built from a university dream. Yet her impact extends beyond entrepreneurship. Her death exposed weaknesses in the system. Her family's determination transformed grief into action, and the changes that followed may protect countless people in the future. The rooftop where her life ended became the scene of one of Baltimore's most shocking crimes. But the consequences reached far beyond a single building, a single neighborhood, or even a single city. They changed Maryland forever. And behind every law, every reform, and every headline remains the memory of a 26-year-old woman whose future was stolen, but whose influence continues long after her final night.